Good afternoon, Connections. This is my Sunday sneak peek, which I hope will help us prepare for the Sunday message this coming Sunday, June 15. And I'm going to be preaching on Psalm 24 that day, and I'm going to especially focus on the middle part of Psalm 24, in particular verses 3 through 6. But we'll look at other parts of the psalm too. I just wanted to give us an overall message of this awesome psalm because it is a great psalm and it's worth, I really hope you do. Psalm 24 pictures God in three ways or in three roles. It pictures God as the owner, the creator of all things, the Lord to whom everything belongs. It pictures God as the Holy Master, and in verses 3 through 6, and then in verses 7 through 10, it pictures God as the glorious conquering King. And now each of these pictures calls for a different kind of faithfulness from us and a different sort of celebration as well. We just want to celebrate all three of these roles in which we see how in a different way God is for us. Let's look at that first part, that God is the owner, the creator. In verses 1 and 2 of Psalm 24, it goes like this: "The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. For he founded it on the seas and established it on the waters." And of course, Paul, he quotes that verse later on in 1 Corinthians 10. Psalm 24 is very, very significant for the whole Bible. Now, it makes the claim the earth is the Lord's. And that means he's powerful there. He owns every part of the earth, and he's powerful in every part of the earth. And that was a very astonishing claim in the ancient world, because in the ancient world, pagans believed that there were hundreds, if not thousands, of gods, and they were all of different shapes and sizes, and they controlled different slices of reality. They stayed in their own lane. If you think about some of the Roman gods, you can really see this illustrated. Ceres, the Roman goddess who controlled grain and agriculture. Our word cereal comes from the goddess Ceres, the goddess of grain. Mars was the god of war. Bacchus was the god of wine. Flora was the goddess of flowers and spring. Volturnus was the god of the Tiber River, a major river for the Romans. That flowed through Rome. Our God is the God who controls every single part of reality. Now, smaller gods, they controlled really small parts of reality. Maybe a single city, maybe a particular mountain or a valley. We see this illustrated really well in 1 Kings chapter 20. Israel is fighting the nation Aram, and Aram said, you know what? Yahweh is a God of hills. He's not a God of valleys. And so he doesn't know how to fight in the valleys. Valleys are kind of his kryptonite. He's not very effective in valleys. He can't fight there. And Yahweh, our God, was offended by that. And so in response, Yahweh says in 1 Kings 20, verse 28, "Because the Arameans think the Lord is a God of the hills and not a God of the valleys, I will deliver this vast army into your hands, King of Israel, and you will know, and Israel will know, and we will know that he is the Lord." Valleys and the hilltops and the city streets and everything else. And of course, Yahweh won that battle, showing that he is powerful everywhere. The main point here is, since Yahweh made everything and is powerful everywhere, he has the right to rule everything. Now, that's been a precious truth among Reformed Christians, that God is sovereign everywhere. Church and Connections is a member of the Christian Reformed Church. We have a testimony called "Our World Belongs to God" that's really precious to us. And paragraph 7 of that testimony says this. It says, "Our world belongs to God, not to us or earthly powers, not to demons, fate, or chance. The earth is the Lord's." And that is so important for us to hold on to, especially in the all the craziness we see in our world today. The earth is the Lord's. It's also a reason for us to be faithful to God, not just at church on Sunday, but in our jobs, in our homes, in our neighborhoods, throughout the week, every day of the week. We don't say, Sunday is the Lord's and the rest of the week I can live as I please. No, we want to follow this Lord wherever he reigns. And where does he reign? Oh, paragraph 45 of the Contemporary Testimony speaks to that. It says, the rule of Jesus Christ covers the whole world. To follow this Lord is to serve him everywhere, without fitting in, as light in the darkness, as salt in a spoiling world. We follow him everywhere. Every last part of reality belongs to our God, and he calls us to be good stewards. The next part of the psalm, it asks the question in verse 3. The psalmist asks, who may ascend the hill of the Lord? Who may stand in his holy place? So you can see there's a focus on holiness. We worship a holy God. We want to draw near a holy God, and that's wonderful. The pilgrims, all Israel turned into pilgrims to Jerusalem 3 times a year. There are 3 great worship festivals that everybody was called up to go to the holy city, to the holy temple, and worship God for those 3 festival occasions. And as they went up to the city, they thought about that temple, and they remembered it's a sacred space. The very design of the temple teaches that we need to prepare to meet our holy God. In fact, the temple was divided into 3 sections. You see that on the diagram. There's a porch area. You have to ascend to get to the porch. You have to go up to get to God. And then you go through the porch into the Holy of Holies. But you and I, we couldn't have done that or to go into the holy place, rather. We go into the next area is the holy place. And only the priest could go into the holy place. And then in the deep part of the temple, there's what's called the Holy of Holies, the most holy place. And only the high priest could go into the Holy of Holies, and he could only go into that space 1 day of year. Such was its holiness. And because that's where the great God dwelt, is the most intimate spot, and he dwelt in all of his glory in the back part of the temple in the Holy of Holies. Now, God loves us. He wants to meet with us, but he's also a great and holy person. A few years ago, my wife Candace and I, we watched the movie, the documentary, The Crown. And it was clear you couldn't just approach Queen Elizabeth any old way you liked. You had to prepare for the meeting in certain prescribed ways. In fact, even the prime ministers would have to meet her. They'd have to greet her in a certain way, in a certain way. They had to leave her in a certain way. They had to walk out of the room in a certain way, because everything, it's a great person. You have to be thoughtful about all this. And if they did all that to meet Queen Elizabeth, how much more should we prepare to meet the God who made us and redeemed us and loves us and who has been so wonderful for us, our God has. And we're going to learn more about this part, especially on Sundays. But the last part of Psalm 24, verses 7 through 10, we see a different shift, a weird shift, because all along we've been picturing the holy God in his holy temple, and we're trying to enter that. But now there's a shift. It's as though God has come and he's joined us trying to get into Jerusalem himself. And so some herald is crying out, lift up your heads, O you gates. Be lifted up, you ancient doors. Let the King come in. And who is this king? He's the glorious conquering king who's mighty in battle. And so you see here some of those gates that the psalmist is talking about. And this is the Golden Gate. And tradition holds that Jesus is going to return to this world after he's put down Satan and he's won every victory. He's going to return to this world and he's going to go through the Golden Gate of the temple. That's what tradition says. And this psalm finishes with has us finish as worshipers thinking about that last day, about the anointed king entering the city of peace. And now he's put down all enemies for good. He's put down the devil and he's put down death. And he's, the last enemy to be destroyed is death. He's made everything sad become untrue. He's ready to inaugurate the new heavens and the new earth. He's healed our hurts. The contemporary testimony puts it this way: he's healed our hurts, he's ended our wars, and he's made the crooked straight. I love that way of putting it. And now the glorious Lord is coming back to his house to make all things new, to banish evil for good, to reward his people for our services and our sacrifices. And it's as though David is saying, all those sacrifices you make, all that stewardship you do, the sacrifices you make to have clean hands and a pure heart, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be so worth it when you are entering the heavenly city with Jesus, the King of glory, right beside, and you enter those gates and you enter into the bliss of what Jesus has in store for us. I love Psalm 24. I encourage you to read it through the week, chew on it, and I look forward to seeing you next Sunday.